Hey everyone, my name is Brooke Klontz. I'm a writer, software engineer, and creative hacker, and today I want to talk to you about something that people have come to me about recently because it's a difficult thing to do. Writing log lines is not easy. So I'm going to give you some tips that will help you when you write your next log line for your next book. It'll make you really excited about it. It makes it really easy. You can just sit down and write it. Sometimes you go over it and you rethink it and rewrite it, but that's okay, as long as you have that solid first draft. So here's some tips. I've got 4. So 1, don't do questions. Please don't do questions. It's my biggest pet peeve. If you're going to ask questions for your reader, you're not inspiring those questions in them. You're pushing them in their heads. You're saying this is the question that you should be asking, when that might not be what they're wondering at all. And it makes them feel like you're pushing something on them. Inspire your readers to ask those questions. Don't ask the questions for them. 2, keep your focus on your main character. I've read a lot of blurbs or log lines where people will talk about all their characters, or they'll talk about the couple rather than the main character. You need to make sure that your log line is about your main character, because your main character is who your readers care about. That is character-driven plot, not plot-driven, or character-driven stories, not plot-driven stories. So tip 3, don't confuse a blurb with a synopsis. A blurb is short. It's usually around like 3 sentences. Maybe a paragraph. Synopsis tells the ending. That's probably the biggest difference between them. Synopses are usually about a page, single spaced, and a synopsis will give away the ending to your reader. It's mostly used when querying agents. Agents sometimes like to know the ending. Your readers obviously don't. So when you're talking about a blurb or a log line, you're not giving away the ending. If you're talking about a synopsis, your ending is in there. You should have your twist, your ending, your full character arc. Everything should be in your synopsis. The next item is focus on your character arc and not your plot. So if you don't know what your character arc is, make sure that you know what that is, because that is super important in every story. Your logline should have your character arc in it. It should talk about the things that your character learns, the changes that your character undergoes before the end of the book. Your plot is in there. I mean, you want to add elements of your plot because those are important, and those are what distinguish your books from other books that have the same theme. But your theme and your character arc should be obvious, or at least present in your logline. The last item is just make sure you keep it simple. Don't make it super long. You should be able to memorize it and have what it is in your head at all times. It should be simple enough that you can remember it, and it should be striking enough that it's meaningful to you. And if you keep it to a structure, that's pretty easy to do. So what I would recommend is actually this book, Save the Cat. It's toward the end of the book on page 267, the log line. It talks about how to structure your log line. And it's pretty simple actually. So you can structure it like this. On the verge of stasis equals death moment. A flawed hero breaks into 2, which means like something happens. Something happens to strike a change. But when the midpoint happens, which is when some kind of emotional something happens to your character that's really bad, that forces them to change. They must learn the theme stated, which is your character arc. They must learn that lesson that they need to know before all is lost. And when I say all is lost, like that's either an emotional, physical, spiritual death of some sort. So I'm going to give you some examples, mostly from my own work in progress. I'm actually going to give you 2 examples. The first one will be just a draft that I wrote based off of this template, and then I'm going to give you another example that might be more similar to ones that you've seen written by other, maybe less experienced writers. And you can tell me which one you like best, and I think I'll know the answer, but I'm gonna, if you could comment, let me know which one you like better, because if you like the second one better, I would really love to hear it, and I'd love to know why. I love discussing these types of things. I'm totally up for it. So let me read it to you. Give me a second. Okay, so on the verge of losing the last vestige of her father's good opinion, that's on the verge of stasis or death. Even though she's not dying, she's losing something that's very important to her emotionally. RHETORICAL, a young woman tired of drowning in her mother's bad reputation, which is her flaw. She cares a lot about what people think. Strives to make the highest marriage connection she can to impress her father. So this is something that she's actively trying to do. It is her break into two. It is something that she's doing to change the events that happen. Let's see, and is instead arrested and then forced to impersonate a princess and marry a conqueror. So that's the midpoint. She goes from trying so hard to impress everyone, and all of a sudden, like, she's forced to impress people. Like, that's not an option anymore. But when the marriage plans become a contest to the death and the conqueror shows he's as cruel as he is handsome, she must balance self-love and authentic motivations with the future of her kingdom. So that is learn the theme stated before all is lost. She has to learn something. She has to learn that to be authentic, she has to learn to love and that she can be loved and that she doesn't need to impress everyone. So that is a basic logline. Here is a second logline, and this is probably more similar to what I see a lot of other authors writing. And it's not as striking to me, but if you really like it, please let me know. I would love to talk about it. So here's my second logline. RHETORICAL, a young woman on a quest to become queen, is forced to enter a princess contest in order to marry a handsome conqueror. If she fails, not only will she be sacrificed to the god Viracocha, but her kingdom will bow to slavery. But the conqueror is as cruel as he is handsome. Can RHETORICAL prove herself to be the queen the kingdom needs, tame the beast, and find love? So there's your question at the end. Just makes you cringe just a little bit. It just sounds cheesy and forced and doesn't need to be there. Please let me know what you think of this video. If you find it helpful, I would love to hear it. Give me any comments. If you could share this post and comment on it, save it, whatever, I would really appreciate that. Thanks so much for watching.